Welcome to another market update. Today is April 8, 2018. Let's take a look at the VIX here. I got the weekly chart on the VIX. As you can see, the VIX came back up last week to the 25 level, and it's kind of bounced around between this upper 18 to 25 area. So certainly the volatility have dramatically changed since last year. And the market most likely will continue to whip around for a little bit with these up and down volatility until we get some sort of a spike up again and have everybody spook out or get some kind of capitulation on this recent pullback. Then we might see a little bit more of a subdued volatility and a little bit of a basing effect before it decide on its next trend direction. Okay, so basically that's the VIX. And let's take a look at the SPY here, the S&P 500 ETF. I'm going to take a look at the weekly here. You can see on the weekly, the prior week there was an inside bar, and last week it broke that, came down, and then it closed back into the close inside of this engulfing candle here. And right now, although I basically put in a couple moving average, I know a lot of people sort of follow these moving average. I would highly recommend or suggest that don't try to trade off of these moving average, but do use it as a visualization aid to kind of gauge the trend of the price, because it does act as a smoothing effect. So if you want to use it to see the current trend of the price action, then you could just use the moving average for that. And sometimes I do employ that sort of scheme to just kind of get a sense of what is the trend, especially during a period of like right now where you have a lot of choppy action. So just kind of put something the things into a little bit better perspective for you to visualize. But I certainly do not trade off of these things, because it's ludicrous to think that these random moving average actually provide support and resistance. So, but like I have said many times, whatever works for you, because different show for different folks. So with that said, let's continue to look at the chart. And if we take a look at the daily price action, you can see that a lot of these zones, these price zone here is basically being tested here on this 258. And I do expect the price to probably come back down and retest this 253.90 and change. Now again, the market always will not respect what is most obvious, because right now, what is most obvious? Everybody is watching this low, right? Everybody is watching that low. So that is the obvious point of price action there. So be careful when the price get down there. Okay, the market will pull something off and trap a lot of the people that thinking either go long or go short, right? So so be careful when the price come down to this level, because it's just like a lot of people staring at these head and shoulder pattern and that sort of thing, right? And a lot of time, the market have figured out how to game those things, right? And the same thing here, right? So these are the obvious. This is one of the obvious thing to keep an eye on, because so many people is watching this very low at 252.92 area. All right, so I do expect a little bit of whipsawing, and then I think the trend right now, the intermediate trend, I wouldn't say it's a long-term trend until something is more established, is down, at least in my opinion. So, but who care about my opinion, right? So anyway, so that's basically what I'm seeing. In it's more biased toward the downside than on the upside, but anything is possible, so be careful out there. All right, okay. And take a look at the Q. Let's go up and get the Q on there. So the QQQ is also pulling back, right? And you see on the weekly here, it's basically one time framing down. right, for the last 3 consecutive week. And right now I'm basically looking for this thing to come down. And, again, this is the obvious point. If we take a look at the the daily price action here, again, this low is the obvious. Right, so keep an eye on that. And you notice that last week, we on Thursday, we got this hangman hangman candle here, and then on Friday, this basically set up a nice evening star type of pattern. So I wouldn't be surprised that we see a little bit more chop on the downside and come down, to this 150 area here and test this February low, in the near term. But again, be careful. Of the price action here. Don't get whipsaw back up. So I know there's a lot of people. You can also see there's a lot of stop they're gonna run. Right? Okay. So so just kind of be careful when it get down here. Right. But I do think that the price is going to go lower after it hit this point. But also the other thing to note, though, on some of my internals I'm watching on the market, it is not as weak as back in the February low. So that doesn't mean that we won't see a lower low. It's just that we probably most likely going to see a trap low, right? Going to trap somebody in there, right? Okay, that's basically what I'm kind of keeping an eye out on. Right? Because if there is a much lower low and it's going to be going down, then the internal have to get much negative. Some of the internal that is not that negative, it's basically pretty much neutral. So I gotta so I'm keeping an eye on that. Doesn't mean that it won't change and become negative and it forces down to change trend on the long for the long term, the long term trend from an uptrend to a downtrend. But for now, the internal indicator that I'm watching, there's quite a number of them is pretty neutral. Okay, it is not negative as it was back here. All right, so that is something to be cautious about. All right, so and taking a look at the Russell 2000. All right, let's go and take a look at on the weekly first. So the Russell 2000 is also, kind of chopping around here. Seems like, we're looking at this as a double top. But again, basically looking for this 150, the 145 area, get tested and then, come down to this February low here at 142. And if this thing really give ground, it could come down to this 135. Don't get too hyped up on the news about the trade war and that kind of stuff, right? Because the market is driven by so many different headlines right now. It's ridiculous to try to follow those talking head or try to find a reason why the market go up or go down. It doesn't matter to us as a trader what caused the market to go up or go down, right? Just as long as we know it's down and we're on the right side, and if it's up and we're also on the right side, that's all that matters. Right? It doesn't matter what caused it to go up and go down, because it's not going to change your P&L one bit, right? Okay, right? Because that's after the fact, right? What we need to do is look at price action and anticipate, based on probability, and risk management of where the market might be going, and then put a bet on. And if it doesn't work out, then we close out our bet, right? Take our losses and then move on to the next trade, all right? So don't get too hung up about the news. I mean, it's an interesting talking point, on a cocktail party or something like that, okay? Or chit chat with your friends. But other than that, it doesn't help you a bit, by watching those headlines and try to trade off those headlines. All right, just trade off the price action, because whatever caused the price to move, it will reflect on the price itself, right? So who cares what caused it to move? So, and if we look at the daily price action here on the Russell 2000 ETF, you can see, so basically you're looking for this thing to come down to this price zone, to see what get any sort of support down here. That's 145.44 area, and then come down to this February low at this 142.90. Then we'll see, what going to happen here. I think there's going to be some firework going to get down there, and it'd be interesting to watch. So, but be careful. A lot of people could get hurt when they get down there, even a short. Right? So, just be careful. And let's go and take a look at the FAANG stock and start off with Facebook. So let's go and switch over to the weekly first, and then we could take a look at the weekly. I also draw in couple trend line here, depending which one you want to follow. Okay, then basically I'm looking for this thing to, possibly come down to this 144, even down at this 132 at these level of potential support and resistance here. Right, because right now it seems to be chopping around between these two zones here, right? This 159 area, and this 149. So you got this 10-point range that it seems to be chopping around. Okay, it did close with a inside spinning top on this, a hammer type of candle from the previous week. So unless it could get above this 162.70, 73 area, 78, whatever, the 162.78 area, then the downside risk still in play. I basically looking for this thing probably break this 149.25 and come down to test this 144 area. So if we take a look at the daily, essentially that's basically what I'm looking at. You see how it tried to get up here at this 162 zone, right, on Thursday, and it just faded, with a big gap, and it just faded down. And then the following day, it tried to run it back up again, and again it fell and it came back down. So watch the next week's price action to see would it be able to push above this. Even still, if I push above this, I still probably look for a setup to play it back on the downside, coming back down to this 149 area at least. Okay, and looking at Apple, let's load up Apple here, and we go and take a look at the weekly on Apple. You see here, we basically, this little topping action here, set up a little bit of an evening star, big down candle, 3 weeks ago, and then we got an engulfing, inside candle here, spinning top, and again, basically chopping around in this 166 area, right? Okay, so if it break below this 164, look for it to come back down to this 158, and then here's the February low. All right, so keep an eye on that. I think the downside is still in play, and if we take a look at the daily, you see this little bit of a spinning top, set up a nice evening star pattern, and in this consolidation zone, this balance zone here, and right now I'm still looking for this thing to work itself down to this 164 area, okay, and maybe chop a little bit and then come down to this 158. So we'll see, right? Okay, because there seems to be a little bit of a basing action setting up something, okay, and so that something could be well, just keep an eye on it. Okay, and let's take a look at the Amazon. Amazon is also seems like might be have a little bit of a near-term top here. You see this weekly chart here. Here's the weekly evening star here, and if you go back and take a look at the last top that Apple made, is pretty much these type of a pattern. Okay, and you see this big candle coming down. So right now, we say you're looking at this 1349, 1350. Break that 1350. I'm looking at 1280. Right. So this is a stock that probably have some downside to come. And essentially, I'm looking at this this way here, this zone here, the 1350 area. 1349.94, so essentially it's 1350, and then the 1280, right? This is the February low here. Okay, so keep an eye on that. We might get a little bump up here to this 1468. If it bump up here, look for setup to play back on the downside. So basically that's what we'll be watching. And then on the Netflix, Netflix is also kind of interesting, right? I just post a couple chart on Bitcoin. One is an ETF and one is a one of those junk stock, basically, right? Looking at these euphoria type of a price move, when it's done, it's basically look like an Eiffel Tower. Not saying Netflix is one of those, but certainly if you look at the top right now on a weekly basis, Netflix is a little bit of a parabolic and forming a little bit of an Eiffel Tower top here, right? So you just have to be cautious about getting long on this thing here. Okay, and you see the volatility. You look at the price range, the weekly range is also expanding, so there's a lot of jittery and nervousness in this stock here. Okay, so see it's trying to get back into zone. This what's that, this 299 area, but again failed to be able to push above, and basically looking for this thing to come back down to this 274 here. I don't believe it's done with this level yet, and I'm still looking for this thing probably work itself back down to 247.70 area, and earnings season going to start pretty soon, so let's see how these things gonna do. And so the next one is Google. Let's take a look at Google here. Also take a look at the weekly, as you can see on Google. Right, so right now it seems to be hovering around this 1025 area. It came down to this 980, 985, somewhere around there. Right, those are the level that was also been watching on at 80, and I do believe we could see the possibility of coming back down to this 918. Right, okay, so you can see on the daily price action. Right, okay, so again, this seems like it's pretty common on the last few days from last week that a lot of these stock is forming a sort of an evening star type of pattern. So look for a little bit more downside, and again, beware, or you might just want to shut yourself off from listening to the news, because there are going to be so many gyration of different news that will cause a lot of people to just go in and out because of the nervousness in the market right now. Okay, so let's take a look at the NVDA. NVDA is one of the recent high-flying semiconductor stock, and you can see that I'm not sure is it forming a rounding top or what, but definitely it seemed like it want to come down and test this 200-ish type of level here. Okay, and possibly get below the 200 and come back down to this 184. Right, so here's the price pattern. Try to hold this 221. Okay, this zone here between 221 217. So if it continue to break below, then we're basically looking at this 203 and 199 price zone here. Basically, it's also a little bit of a gap here, to get filled and possibly come down to this 183 area for maybe potential support and get a little bit of a bounce up. But again, who knows, right? But the other thing is to look at is the possibility, right? Here's the left shoulder, here's the head, and it could come down and do this, right? So before it decide what to do. Okay, all right, so those are the one of the possibility. And let's take a look at Alibaba. Okay, Alibaba is also being pounded on in the recent week. Right, after it came back up, remember we were looking at this trading band here and saying you're just going to whip around this trading band, and it came back up to this top of this trading band and then sold off again, and now it's at the bottom of here. So it'll be interesting to watch to see what break this trading band, come down to this 163 to 160, and then move down to this 150 area here. Okay, so basically that's what I'm watching for break away, break below, accentuate breakdown from this this band here, and get into filling this gap, right? This 163, 160 gap, and move itself down to test the 150 area. Okay, but if we see some long setup and try to push it back up, and that would be the 191. But I'm not too particularly fond on setting up long position right now until some of the things have occurred, then might change my bias. Okay, so that's basically what I'm looking at. If if it break this, so basically I'm looking for this thing here, come up and maybe try to look for some sort of setup and go short here, right? So we'll see. There's a lot of different setup that could set up the short, and we just have to keep an eye on that. So, and I guess a lot of people's favorite, Tesla. Okay, so you can see Tesla got a wild week there. Right? Came down to this zone here, somewhere around 242.78, and heck of a bounce. I mean, a lot of the short basically just got squeezed the heck out of them. So again, hey, Elon is a hell of a stock operator, man. So you gotta give him that credit. Might not be a like a business guy that could run an auto company, but hey, he certainly know how to run a stock. So anyway, right, the price is back into this trading band, and looking at the price action here, who knows? But my bias is on the downside. So, but I'm looking for this thing to come back down. If we get below this, this 282 zone, I look for this thing to, get back below the 242, get back into the 242 and test that. So I'm just waiting for this little chop to come to an end, and who knows, I might go buy some put, maybe buy some long-term out of the money put and let this company go bankrupt or something. I don't know. But I don't play Tesla too often. I don't know how many times have I traded Tesla. Maybe one or twice. So anyway, I know a lot of you probably keep an eye on Tesla, and hey, best of luck to you guys. I mean, anything is possible, right? Just because one person's opinion doesn't mean that's what the stock is going to do or what it is worth. Right? So, buy something that you have confidence, or trade on things that you have confidence. Make trade that you have confidence in, right? Then at least when you lose money, you know what's doing based on something, not just based on random emotion or hearsay. Okay, so that's it for this week video, and hopefully you found something useful here and informative. If you do, please click a thumbs up to let me know, and if you're not a subscriber to my YouTube channel, click on the subscribe button on the lower bottom right hand corner, and you can also follow me on Twitter. My handle is at smtraderCA, and good luck on your trading.